We head to Chicago now, where jurors began deliberations this afternoon in the trial of Jussie Smollett. The Empire actor faces 6 felony counts of disorderly conduct for lying to police. It all stems back to January of 2019 when Smollett told police he was a victim of a hate crime. He alleged 2 men wearing red hats put a rope around his neck and poured bleach on him while yelling racist and homophobic slurs. However, prosecutors say Smollett staged the alleged attack for publicity. Back with me are my legal experts, Bernarda Villalona and Robert Swafford. All right, so let's start with those closing arguments from both sides and look at how the attorneys laid out their cases for the jury. First, Dan Webb for the prosecution. He focused on several key issues that he argued prove Smollett is guilty. Bernarda, this is a trial where the jury is basically going to have to decide whose story they believe most, Jussie's or the prosecution's star witnesses, the 2 brothers who claim they were paid to carry out a fake attack. I don't know what to think at this point. I thought Jussie was guilty, he was lying, but I mean, he also had some valid points that he made while he was testifying. And I was looking for these closing arguments to make it all make sense. For me, I'm sure the jurors are just as confused. Did either side do that?
So remember, when you're talking amongst us, obviously we're trial attorneys. So we look at closing arguments and we look at evidence differently because we know what's involved in trying a case and what key aspects to look at. So we have a higher standard for ourselves and for the other people that we see doing closing arguments and trying cases. I mean, that's what we talk about, right? So in regards to what is the jury going to do? You're talking about lay people, not lawyers. They're not professional jurors. What are they to decide? So what's going to happen is that, the judge already gave the instructions. The defense has no burden, meaning the defense doesn't have to prove that he is not guilty, regardless, even though that he testified. Who has the burden of proof is the prosecution. They have to prove Jussie Smollett guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And because he testified, now they had to address his credibility. But let's just keep it simple. Look, it happened at 2:00 in the morning in Chicago. Now, it is cold. No, it's not just cold. It is brick cold. So Jussie being out at 2 in the morning, there's no one out there except the Nigerian brothers, because just an hour earlier, because Jussie's flight was delayed 4 hours, had telephoned the brother and told him that he'll be there around that time and to meet him at 2:00. And guess who shows up? The brothers. Mm-hmm. And guess what? After this supposed attack, what happens? He calls them again like an hour later. And then the next day calls them as well. So it's just too many coincidences. And the corroboration is there in terms of the prosecution case with the phone records, the video, and just things that don't make sense.
That's where I kind of smell, the things just don't smell right? When you can tell the jury, I mean, you can't expect the jury to believe that these brothers knew when and where Jussie would be at 2 a.m. on that day in question. It's just impossible. Robert, when jurors hear expert testimony, say like medical experts, and everything that's being testified to is kind of going over their heads, and they tend to cancel both experts for both sides out. Is that something they may do here? I mean, even though the prosecution is really building their case based on what these 2 brothers are saying, and basically Jussie went on the stand to refute all of that. So canceling that testimony out would kind of be pointless, right? This is what the case is about. But what do you do when you can't decide who's credible at this point?
Well, here's the thing to remember is there's the thing called confirmation bias. And what confirmation bias is that if you believe something at the outcome about a situation, you will reject evidence or information that goes contrary to what you believe. And you will either adopt or even make up evidence that will support what you already believe. So rolling into this trial, it's such a high profile trial, everyone on that jury already has an opinion about it. And so the question is that what were their biases coming into the trial? So the people who believe that Jussie Smollett isn't being treated fairly, and it's just the system trying to take somebody down who doesn't need to be taken down. That those folks are going to reject the testimony of the brothers and the people who believe that this was a staged event, and that he's basically using unfairly and sort of in a repugnant way, ideas about racism and homophobia. That he's doing that in order to try to promote his career. The people who believe that rolling into the trial are going to dismiss his testimony. But the thing to remember is all it takes is one person in a criminal case to say that, you know what, they didn't prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. So that's the standard. Mm-hmm. So even if we feel like, well, something doesn't smell right, something may not look right, this doesn't make sense, all of his testimony isn't consistent, even if you have that situation, you may have some jurors back there who say, well, yeah, but they didn't meet their burden of beyond a reasonable doubt.
Well, let's talk about one of the issues the prosecution did focus on, and that was Smollett's refusal to give police his cell phone, medical information, and DNA evidence. The prosecutor said, quote, Mr. Smollett didn't want the crime solved. He wanted the media exposure, but he didn't want the brothers apprehended. Bernarda. So Jussie basically said on the stand that I didn't want to give all that information up because I want to live a private life. Yet he is on a hit show, The Empire. He's a celebrity. It kind of comes with the territory, but that could be a very plausible reason, right? That he didn't want everybody in his business. Was that a good point to hone in for the jurors?
So in regards to the prosecution, it was a good point to hone in for the jurors in the sense of, wait, you feel hurt, you feel violated, you're traumatized, you want to get these guys. Wait, let's not forget the Good Morning America interview with Robin Roberts. Remember, he started crying, was like, to think that they will never get the person who did this to me. Come on. If that's the case, then you would have cooperated to the fullest with law enforcement, and that there was a red flag. I can understand you didn't want, you never want somebody swiping left too much because you never know what you got in there. But you know that law enforcement is going to keep that in close and focus as to what they need for their prosecution. We worked at DA's offices, so when they're going to look at your phone, they're going to go to the specifics. They want to see your text messages as well as your phone records. But in terms of once law enforcement was asking for that phone, that would have been a red flag to me to be like, oh, no, they looking at me for this. Something's not right. I need to get an attorney.
All right, we've got more with my panel as we break down the defense's summation after the break. So stay tuned. You're watching Making the Case. After Jussie Smollett pleaded not guilty to 6 counts of disorderly conduct for lying to police about a hate crime. After 7 days on trial and 7 witnesses called to the stand by the defense, including Jussie himself, his fate is now in the hands of the jury who began deliberations today. Still here with me, Bernarda Villalona and Robert Swafford. Guys, before we move on to the defense's final plea to the jury, I wanted to quickly wrap things up with Dan Webb, the lead prosecutor. He may have given the defense an edge in the likability category because of his tone-deaf approach to sensitive issues like the N-word. Bernarda, he was reading back, in cross-examination of Jussie Smollett, he was reading back his text messages with the brothers, and he used the N-word. And he kept saying the entire word, and Jussie had to interrupt him and say, can you not say that, or at least say the N-word? At that point, he apologized, and the prosecutor insisted that Jussie read those text messages. And then fast forward to the closing arguments. He's talking about one of the points that he's trying to make about Jussie's, alleged lie about the noose around his neck, and he says that he's monkeying around with this rope. And at that point, Jussie's family in the gallery made an audible sound, and of course, I'm sure the jury picked up on that. What do you think in terms of, it's important that Jussie, if he's going to take the stand, any defendant, portray themselves in a way where they're calm, cool, and collected, and want to directly speak to the jury. Just come up as best as possible. And that also goes for attorneys. So how do you think that'll play with the jury?
So it's all going to depend on who's on the jury. What is in their minds? What's the diversity of this jury? How do they accept that terminology being used and the way it's used and coming from this type of an attorney? So the thing is that you find throughout the entire country, and this is why diversity is so important in the legal field and also in the team that you're working in, is because people tend to be tone deaf when they're not that type of person, they're not that type of race, they're not familiar with that culture, and they don't realize how it can be offensive or how someone from another race can be accepting of it. So even if Jussie Smollett were like, oh, we don't believe what you're saying, but at that critical moment, you humanized him in the sense that anyone who is of that race, anyone who is gay can also feel empathy towards Jussie Smollett. So I hope it doesn't backfire against the prosecutor, but that's something that skilled trial attorneys are conscious of.
Robert, your thoughts? All we know about this jury is that there's 6 men and 6 women, including a black man. So how do you think they're going to receive the prosecutor's tone deafness?
Well, I think I really can't add much to what my co-presenter said, but with regard to that, it depends the filter that is coming through. But one thing that I always work with witnesses on is whenever you're speaking, there are 2 things that are going on. There are the words that are coming out of your mouth, and there's how you're being whenever you say those words. And so I think it's significant how the defendant was responding. And I'm just going to show you a chart or a tool that I use whenever I'm doing witness prep, is I will write on a legal pad the words doing and being. And doing are the words that come out of your mouth. And then your being is how you're being when you say those words. And what a jury is cueing in on more than the actual words is, are you being authentic? Are you being calm? Or are you being defensive? Or are you being arrogant? So in some ways, having a trained actor as the witness may make a difference, because that's one of the things that actors do, is they really do look at their internal emotional state and be able to communicate that.
All right, guys, let's now get into the defense's closing arguments. The defense had to paint the Osendero brothers as liars, as opportunists. During closing, Smollett's defense attorney said that the brothers are, quote, slick con men. They're criminals. They're the worst type of criminals. Bernarda, is that going to be effective? Because they're calling these men con artists, criminals, but one of them at least were, friends with Jussie. The other brother was an acquaintance, and Jussie admitted that, they would go and get drugs for him. They would do drugs together. So he was engaging in this illegal activity. He was friends with one of them, so possibly a romantic sexual relationship. So is that going to be something that the jury could buy?
So the defense in their closing argument, and yes, they can buy it, the defense doing their closing argument had no choice but to attack the credibility of their 2 key eyewitnesses in this case, eyewitnesses and the ones that caused these charges to come about. So they had to attack the credibility, because in the end, that's what the jury is going to determine, whether they can believe these 2 brothers as to what happened. And because of that, the defense had no choice but try to say and paint that these brothers are they're criminals, they're con artists, they can't be believed. You all heard about the pyramid schemes. This is exactly what happened here, except in another sense. However, it can backfire in the sense, oh, he's criminal, oh, he's dirty, oh, he's all about schemes. But guess what? Your client, Jussie, you were hanging out with him. Those are your friends. And in fact, you were more than just friends with one of the brothers. So this is what you like.
Y'all, I'm running out of time. I thought we had more time to discuss this, but we are going to be watching closely. They could be, the jury, coming back with a verdict by the end of the week. So we're going to be watching this again closely. Bernarda, thank you so much. Robert, again, for your time tonight.